Have you ever just stared at a web page and wondered how it all works? How does a bunch of plain text get turned into something clean and organized? Well, it's not magic, it's actually a blueprint, and that blueprint is called HTML. So let's dive in and see exactly how it works.
You see, when a web browser first gets a text file, it sees this. Just a giant, jumbled up wall of words. Total chaos, right? But what we want it to see is this other side. Something with order, a clear title, and paragraphs you can actually read. Our job is to turn that chaos into clarity.
So that really is the big question, isn't it? How in the world do we get from that messy blob of text to a perfectly structured page? Well, the answer is pretty simple. We have to learn how to speak the language of the web's architect.
To build anything, you need tools, and in HTML, our tools are called tags. These are the basic commands we use to tell the browser exactly what to do with all our text. Think of them as your hammer and nails.
Okay, so what is a tag? It's just a command, and you'll always spot them because they're wrapped in these little angle brackets. As soon as a browser sees those brackets, it's like a light bulb goes off. It knows it's getting an instruction, not just more words to display on the screen. This is the absolute foundation of web structure.
And honestly, this is the perfect way to think about it. The tags are the instructions written all over an architect's blueprint. You don't see those notes on the finished building, do you? Of course not. But without them, the whole project would be a disaster. They're invisible, but absolutely essential.
Every good building project starts with a solid foundation and a strong framework. For our web page, that framework is built using headings. These are the very first and probably the most important structural tools we need to get a handle on. So we have these headings that run from H1 all the way down to H6. Now, it's really tempting to just think of them as a way to make text bigger or bolder, but that's not their real job. Their true purpose is to create a logical hierarchy, a structure of importance. It's exactly like the outline you would write for a report or an essay.
And here's how that whole system breaks down. The H1, that's your main title, the big idea of the entire page, and you should only ever have one. Then, H2 tags are for your major sections, H3s for the subsections inside those, and it just keeps going down the ladder of importance, all the way to the bottom.
All right, so if the headings are the skeleton, the frame of our house, then what are the walls? That's where paragraphs come in. They're what fill in the structure and give it all some real substance.
The paragraph tag, which is just written as P, looks incredibly simple, but it is an absolute powerhouse. Its one job is to group your sentences together into a self-contained block. This tag is the workhorse of your web page. I mean, this is where most of your actual content is going to live.
You know, this quote just says it all. Headings are the skeleton. Paragraphs are the muscle. It's perfect, right? The headings provide that rigid structure, while the paragraphs add all the substance and meaning. You gotta have both, working together.
Okay, enough theory. It's one thing to talk about it, but it's way cooler to actually see it in action. So let's take our blueprint and watch a browser build a real web page from it. This is the part where it all starts to click. And you won't believe how easy this is. Step 1 is just to write out your blueprint. Use a heading tag for your title and a couple of paragraph tags for your text. Step 2, save the file. Now, here's the key. Give it a name that ends in .html, like index.html. That little extension tells the computer this is a web page. And then, step 3, just open that file in your browser.
And there it is, the magic moment. Look at this. On the left, that's our simple blueprint with our H1 and our P tags. And on the right, that's the final building. The browser read our instructions and constructed the page perfectly, turning that raw code into a structured, readable document. The blueprint just became reality. How cool is that?
So let's just quickly recap the most important stuff. First, HTML tags are what give plain old text structure and meaning. Second, headings, the whole H1 to H6 family, create that logical outline, the skeleton. Third, paragraphs, using the P tag, organize all your main content. That's the muscle. And maybe the biggest takeaway of all, you write the blueprint and the browser does all the heavy lifting to build the page. It's a really powerful partnership.
You now have the most fundamental tools for structuring information on the entire web. You know how to lay a foundation with headings and build out the walls with paragraphs. So the only question left is, what will you build on it?